All right, thank you for joining us. Today we are going to talk about the 2024 Sea Grant Knauss Fellowship application. If you need to get a hold of us, please reach out on our phone number at 240-507-3712 or at oar.sg.fellows@noaa.gov. You can also read more about our program at seagrant.noaa.gov.knauss. All right, what is Sea Grant? Sea Grant has been around for many, many years, and our goal and our mission is to enhance the practical use and conservation of coastal, marine, and Great Lakes resources to create a sustainable economy and environment. How do we do this? We have 34 university-based Sea Grant programs located in all of the coastal and Great Lakes states, including Puerto Rico and Guam. In this map, you can see where we're located based on the little blue birds in each of the coastal states. What we're talking about today is the Dean John A. Knauss Marine Policy Fellowship. The Sea Grant Knauss Fellowship provides a unique educational and professional experience to graduate students who have an interest in ocean, coastal, and Great Lakes resources and the national policy decisions affecting those resources. The fellowship itself is a one-year, hands-on learning experience through a fully immersive work experience within the Washington, D.C. region. Fellows should expect to be placed in either the executive or legislative branches of the federal government. So what is the executive branch? The executive branch carries out the laws. Some possible hosts that you may be working with are agencies such as NOAA, or the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. EPA, the Navy, USGS, Department of Interior, USGS, and NSF. Many host offices have hosted fellows, and both mentors and colleagues are often alumni. They may work on topics specific as an expert serving in a high-level coordination role. So in the executive branch, you're really going to have that opportunity to be in the ground level of how policy and topics get made and used in the conservation of our natural resources. Or you could be supporting one of our NOAA leaders or other leaders in other agencies at very high-level coordination roles. So very different types of positions on the executive branch. On the flip side, you may be working in the legislative branch. These are the folks that make the laws that the executive branch inputs. Possible placements encompass committees and personal offices in both parties and chambers. Many of our host offices have hosted fellows in the past and have a deep investment in the Sea Grant program. You typically work on hot office topics, which may evolve during the year and may not always relate to ocean and Great Lakes. The 2024 Knauss Fellowship timeline takes about a year. In February, student applications are due to the state program by February 16th by 5 p.m. local time. State Sea Grant program review packages and check for minimum requirements and properly redact, and also you get your interview with your Sea Grant director. In March, our Sea Grant programs submit their letters of intent, and then the state Sea Grant programs can nominate up to 6 applicants each to the national competition by March 30th, 2023. So for you as a student, the big date that you need to remember is February 16th. That is the important one. That is when your application materials are due to your Sea Grant director. Then in April and May, the national office reviews the application materials. And then in June, the National Sea Grant Office notifies the programs and the finalists of their selection status. We will be hosting a finalist welcome workshop on June 21st from 12 to 6 Eastern. So please, if you are interested in this program, reserve that time now. It is a long day, and we look forward to working with you then. Then in July, finalists provide their information to us at the national office, and we also notify our alternates of the program by July 28th. Then in August and September, we make that public announcement. In October, and then the big thing is in October and January, we have our placement weeks. This is when you find out what office you will be working for. In February, the fellowship starts on the 1st of 2024 and then ends on January 31, 2025. So just as a reference point for folks to understand how we select at the national level, in March, the Sea Grant programs nominate up to 6 applicants to us. And then in April, we review those packages, make sure that you meet the minimum requirements, which basically means, did you follow all the guidance that we provide? Are your CVs 2 pages? Are your letters of recommendation 2 pages? Are you making sure that you follow those rules? Then we host a review panel. And in May, we complete that review panel. And then again, in June, programs are notified, finalists and alternates are notified, and then we have that welcome workshop. And then in July, we make these public announcements. As a reference point, the overall fellowship award for 2024 is every fellow has a stipend of $68,000 for the year. This includes health benefits and taxes. Then additionally, you will have $5,000 in allowable expenses, which may include relocation, academic tuition, and academic and fellowship-related travel. We have then an additional $2,500 that will support travel to the DC region for an in-person placement process if that is occurring, subject to COVID and all the other things. And then the final little bit, which is totally optional for your host office, they can provide additional funds to support travel for their host office. So again, the main points are that you will get a salary or a stipend that will total $68,000 for the year, and then you get the $5,000 on the side for other allowable expenses. So how do you know if you're eligible? Any student, regardless of citizenship, is eligible to submit to the opportunity if they follow these 3 eligibility factors. The student is enrolled in a degree or graduate program. This could be a master's, PhD, or JD. 2, the graduate degree will be awarded through an accredited institution of higher education in the United States or U.S. territories. And then finally, the student has an interest in ocean, coastal, and Great Lakes resources and the national policy decisions affecting those resources. As a note for those students who are coming to us from states that do not have a Sea Grant program, please reach out to the national office and we can assign you to a program that will facilitate your application process. So some further criteria that may affect eligibility. This is a 1-year fellowship that takes place in the National Capital Region, or the DMV. Applicants must be prepared to relocate to the DMV, and non-U.S. citizens are responsible for obtaining the appropriate visas that allow them to work in the Washington, D.C. region. Foreign nationals and dual citizens, while this fellowship is open to all eligible students regardless of nationality, a significant number of participating federal host offices are unable to accept foreign nationals as fellows. While more offices are able to host dual citizens, there may be restrictions on where you get placed. Additionally, foreign nationals are eligible for both the executive and the legislative branch. Applicants must be able to pass a federal background security check. This includes arrest records, questions on drug use, and possible review of your social media presence. Prior contact or arrangements made with possible host offices before the start of the placement week will be cause for immediate disqualification from the program. And then finally, applicants that have been accepted as national finalists and or become fellows are not eligible to apply again without written permission of the NSGO Fellowship Manager, which will only be granted in response to exceptional life events. So all of these just take into consideration as you move through the application process. Some more details for our foreign nationals. You are eligible for both the executive and legislative cohorts. You are responsible for obtaining your visa. Typical visa types that we see in the Knauss program are those that are still students and they remain on their F1 visa. If you have graduated, many of our students opt to do the optional practical training extension, or OPT. If you are looking into applying to this fellowship, please reach out to your Office of International Affairs at your university to learn more about what paperwork and what they need and what sort of requirements there are. All right, now we're getting to the good stuff, the application, its package itself. So there's quite a few bits to this application. We have a project narrative, which is developed by the student. This is going to include your curriculum vitae, your personal, educational, and career development responses, your relevant coursework and future year plans, 2 letters of recommendation, transcripts, and if you're one of those students coming from an out-of-state program, an out-of-state letter that we have provided you. And then on top of that, your Sea Grant program or the program that you apply to includes a letter of recommendation from the director. All right, so what goes into the curriculum vitae? The student up front, the student should not include personal contact information or web links, external resources. This includes links to your LinkedIn, any articles or blogs. You're welcome to provide that information, but just don't put the link in. Also, we definitely discourage you from including things like your social security number or your address or your phone number. You do not need to take up space with that information because it will be redacted by your program. The CV is meant to be no more than 2 pages, so use your space wisely. All right, the main chunk of the application is your personal, educational, and career development responses. Within this section, we have 3 different components. Section 1, which is the icebreaker. Section 2, which we're going to ask you to talk about your career path and objectives. And then Section 3, we're going to ask you to talk to your career path experiences. So in this section, you should emphasize your abilities and expectations of the fellowship experience in terms of your career development. Each section and subsequent subsection should be answered separately so that our reviewers know what you are talking about and which question you're answering. The entire personal, educational, and career development section should not exceed 1,500 words total. We have provided a suggested word count with each section as we go through it. And as a side note, if you include section headers, they will be counted as your overall word count. So please be aware of that. All right, so section 1 is the icebreaker. Within this section, we suggest only using about 25 words for this section. It is a very small section. In this section, you should develop 1 sentence to describe yourself. This is 20 words, we average. And then the second part of the icebreaker section is that we ask you to list 5 adjectives that someone with a close personal connection to you would use to describe you. And again, that's 5 words max. So don't give us 6, don't give us 4, give us 5 adjectives that somebody would use to describe you. All right. Section 2, which is the career path and objectives. Again, this is can be completed as one continuous statement or as separate responses. However, we do recommend that you separate them out clearly. The suggested word count is 700 words for this section. In this section, we have 3 prompts, and they are as followed. The student should discuss any experiences supporting or relating to the mission of the National Sea Grant Office or the State Sea Grant Program, emphasizing, if relevant, experience with extending and distilling science for non-scientific audiences. The student should discuss their interest in the Knauss Fellowship with a specific focus on how Knauss supports the student career pathways and how it would further support their professional development. And then finally, the students should discuss their transferable skills they would bring to the Knauss Fellowship, especially highlighting experiences from their personal, professional, and academic background. All right, section 3 is going to be our career path experiences. In this section, again, this is about 700 words, and the student should discuss the following 2 prompts: how they have collaborated or engaged with a diverse community members and or interested partners, and or how they would be an ambassador for the principles of equity, diversity, inclusion, justice, and accessibility throughout the Knauss program. The second prompt is that the student should discuss a situation in which they overcome a challenge specifically as it relates to how they took a leadership role. The student should consider including a reflection of what they learned from this experience. All right, so the next section of the application is your relevant coursework and future year plans. This section should not exceed 1 page single-spaced. In this section, the student should discuss the following: any relevant coursework, that is completed or in progress that they deem to be relevant to the success of their Knauss Fellowship program. Future activities, including a listing of classes and or plans for the spring 2023, summer 2023, and fall 2023 parts of the year. So 2 parts of that section talk about your relevant coursework. You're welcome to expand a little bit on why that course is relevant, why you feel that it's relevant, and then tell us what you're planning on doing for the rest of the year. The next section is our letters of recommendation. In this section, we ask that you get 2 letters of recommendation from individuals who have worked with you. Each letter should not exceed 2 pages single-spaced, so please prep your letter writers so that they don't send in something too long. And when you're talking to your letter writers, please emphasize to them that the letter should discuss the following attributes of the student: self-motivation, response to setbacks, skills and involvement in teamwork, collaborative leadership skills, willingness to learn a new skill set or topic, and their academic performance or potential. Letters should also speak to anything else the review panel should know about the strengths that the student will bring to the fellowship program. So please make sure that you take the time to prep your letter writers. One letter writer must be somebody within your academic institution who has experience with you as a student. The other letter can be from anyone that knows you. However, it cannot be a family member, an elected representative, either at the state or the federal level. So be thoughtful about who you ask, but the door is pretty open on who you want to have there. The next piece, and the final piece for most folks, is your transcripts. Please provide us with clear digital or scanned copies of all of your undergrad and graduate student transcripts. Please note these can be unofficial. They don't need to be official transcripts. As a side note, they are not getting scored as part of your application materials. We just need these to make sure that you are, who you say you are, and that you are truly a student in grad school. So please give us clear ones that we can understand. The final thing that is potentially not for most folks, we do require an out-of-state letter for those students who are coming to us from a non-Sea Grant institution or non-Sea Grant state. We will, if you reach out to us at our email address, oar.sg.fellows@noaa.gov, we will provide that letter that you need to include with your application package. The final little bit, and just to get you guys prepared for how to prep yourself, is the director's letter. All of our Sea Grant directors must include a signed letter of recommendation, which is built from an interview with the applicant. As part of the interview and subsequent letter, the director is going to talk about these things. They're going to demonstrate why the student is a good fit for the Knauss program, highlight the skills the student emphasizes in the interview, explain any gaps in the CV or personal education and career development responses, or anything that the student feels they were unable to include in the application. And then finally, they should advocate for why the student belongs in the Knauss program. And again, this is all based off of your interview with that director. Sorry about that. Okay, So up next, we're going to talk about the evaluation criteria. And what we're going to do is I'm going to follow the same pattern of talking about each different aspect of the application. And I'm going to tell you all how it's going to be scored, what the point value is. A really high-level overview of this. We have three key evaluation criteria: relevant experience, then recommendations and/or endorsements, and then overall application cohesion. As part of the relevant experiences, this includes your CV, your personal educational career development responses, and then your relevant coursework and future year plans. This makes up the bulk of the scoring points. It's well over 80% of the points. So this is where all of your energy should go. This is where a lot of your energy should go. Your recommendations and/or letters of endorsement make up 10 points total of the application package. And then the overall application cohesion is also worth 10 points. And the overall application cohesion is just looking at how all of the application materials, your CV, your responses, your coursework, your future year plans, your letters, and your director's letter all come together and make a clear, clean application. So how is our CV scored? When we're looking at this, the CV is worth 10 points. On the slides, we've included the point scale. I'm not going to read it out just because it gets repetitive and I want to be interested in everybody's time. But if you look at the point scale, that's how it's broken down for every section. So for the CV, we're looking at for if the student has employment, volunteer, extracurricular activities in academic, applied, research, administration, outreach, or policy positions. We're looking for education and experiences, personal or professional, in the student's areas of expertise are appropriate to the career stage. We're looking to make sure that the student has demonstrated academic, professional, or personal experiences that are relevant and applicable to serving the American people. And then finally, we're looking to see that you have experiences that show prior leadership roles relevant to your career stage. For example, student government, faculty committees, advisory committees, professional societies, or community initiatives. All right, up next, we're going to talk about the personal education and career development responses. Okay, so this is for the icebreaker. Sorry for the mental freeze right there. This is for the icebreaker. This is a total of 5 points into this. And really what we're looking for in this section is that you demonstrate a creative thinking and a willingness to think outside of the box. So again, if you remember the icebreaker, this was the 1 sentence as well as the 5 adjectives that describe you. Up next, we have the second section of the personal educational and career development. This is worth 25 points. So this is a pretty chunky aspect of your application. So this is where you should really be thinking about what are they looking for. We're asking that the student shows that the student has path and objectives which are specific, direct, and concise while discussing what the student should bring to and gain from the Knauss Fellowship. We're looking that you clearly articulate your career and professional goals. We're looking that you demonstrate a diverse personal and professional background, creative thinking, analytical skills, and/or indicates your capacity and willingness to make connections between science and broader economic, social, and political issues, as well as an ability to convey scientific knowledge in broader scientific contexts. And then finally, we're looking to make sure that you align your materials with the broader mission of the Sea Grant program and NOAA at large. And then the final section in the personal educational career goals section, this is talking about your experiences. Again, this is 25 points, so a good section of your application materials. We're looking that you as the student have shown interest in working with a diverse collaborators and community members, that you demonstrated an interest in or commitment to the Sea Grant values of DEIJA, You have creative and willingness to navigate a challenging situation. You have leadership and or problem-solving initiative. And then finally, your experiences demonstrate a commitment to apply expertise to serve science and society. All right, up next, we're going to talk about the relevant coursework and future year plans. This section is worth 10 points. And all we're looking for, or what we're looking for, is that the student has activities in academic, applied research, administration, outreach, or policy. We're looking to make sure that the student has education and experience, personal or professional, that support the student's goals or provide further experiences applicable to the Knauss program. All right, so our letters of recommendation, each letter, the two of your choice, are each worth 5 points. And what we're looking for from your letter writers is that they demonstrate knowledge of the student and their abilities. They speak to the leadership potential, confidence, maturity, and self-direction of the student. They provide evidence of the student's willingness and flexibility to tackle issues beyond their area of expertise, and an openness and capacity to expand experiences. And then finally, the ability to convey scientific knowledge in broader non-scientific contexts. So again, when you're prepping your letter writers, in the previous couple of sections, you control what you write. But in the letters of recommendation, you got to prep your letter writers to make sure that they can answer these questions about you and make sure that they know that this is what they should be talking about when they write, because you don't want them to miss the mark with their letter. So do make sure you prep your letter writers. I would recommend personally providing them with this list as well. All right, and then we have the director letter. Again, this director letter is worth 5 points. So the directors all know this, but just so you all know what they're looking for, is that they're going to be trying to demonstrate how you fit the Knauss program, including any discussion of why the student belongs in the Knauss program, highlighting the skills, academic, professional, or personal, that the student would bring to our program, and then also elaborates on information not specifically addressed by their student in the application package. And then the final scoring criteria is just the overall application cohesion, which is worth 10 points total. And so when we score this one, our reviewers are looking at if the student has ensured their application materials complement each other. So does that mean that your CV and your personal statements, do they say the same things, or do they complement each other and expand on something? So making sure that you have those materials that complement. We want you to demonstrate how you bring a diverse perspective to the program. We want you to provide a clear picture of what the student would gain from receiving the Knauss Fellowship. And then finally, provide a clear picture of what the student would bring overall. So really, this is how we score, looking at your whole application, putting it together. Did you think through who you were asking to be a reviewer? Did you think through what your personal statement said and what your CV said, and how they could complement each other and expand on what each one of you said? All right, so my last slide before sort of the wrap-up side is a couple tips on applying to the Knauss program. First and foremost, request that you be connected to an alumni or two that may be able to answer your questions about the program. I would definitely recommend reaching out to your Sea Grant program. They will be able to make these connections for you. Secondly, I cannot emphasize this one enough. Please reread your materials. Reread the application requirements and what you develop. In our application requirements, we've laid out some very specific information like word count, word length, page maximums. Make sure you follow that, because we will black out information and you don't want that to be affecting your application materials. Also, check for typos. Make sure that you're writing your application materials for this program. Don't copy and paste and accidentally leave a different job title in there. That happens more than you know, and it does reflect poorly on you, even if it wasn't intentional. For your letters of rec, please prep your letter writers about the opportunity. Give them time to provide meaningful comment about you, and allow them the space to say no if they don't feel like they either have the time or the ability. But do prep them, do give them the time, and provide them that opportunity. We definitely recommend you start early. Collecting all the pieces can take time, and you don't want to be rushing at the end and then likely make more mistakes. And then finally, stay true to yourself. This is your application. Really do let your character and goals be the focus. Don't try and fit yourself into a square hole. Like, really let your true personality shine. And then finally, proofread again. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. The things that we see are unbelievable. So do make sure that you proofread. And that's it for my slides. Again, thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful, and we look forward to your application. If you need to get in contact with us, again, my phone number, my name is Maddie. I will answer this phone number, 240-507-3712. Or you can reach out to us at our email address, oar.sg.fellows@noaa.gov. Again, thank you for listening.